Kind of took a nap and overslept. Ugh. But I am gonna run a match or two of some PUBG Mobile before I call it not really quits, but before I change to the next day, which I probably won't even change, to be quite honest. I don't know what it is, but lately with third person perspective.
Welcome to PUBG Mobile.
Sorry, I had to take a quick second to avoid that broadcast message. But with third person perspective, I've been getting stuck and I deal with like random matches where I just either drop in at hotspots and I just get so frustrated that I end up losing to lag or whatnot. But like honestly, I'll be hiding behind an not like this barrel because that's kind of like a bad example, but almost like the wall off to my left, but where I'm like completely concealed behind an object, and a person shoots at me and they still end up killing me. So it's quite frustrating.
We will be taking off
so
soon.
My rating's been dropping quite frequently because I keep thinking I'm like behind good cover, but I end up getting messed over. So it's like quite frustrating now. I think I kept a few of these videos. Like yesterday I died to a guy at Vikendi that shot me while I was fully behind cover, behind a rock. Ended up losing the match due to that. And then also another match where I had like some 5 kills, good rally started. And some guy killed me by me hiding completely behind a supply drop. Like I wrapped around the corner, wrapped around to the right, and I shot his teammate in like 2 to 3 shots. I did the same thing. I tried doing the same thing to the other. I actually didn't really try. I just went for the kill on the other guy. Wrapped around the other corner of the supply box, and I shot him like 3 to 4 times, lit him up. I don't think I lit up his head like I lit up the other guy. And as I lit him up, I wrap around the corner, hide behind the box, start my reload and everything. And they somehow managed to kill me. But I mean, I was like clearly around the box. while they were like clearly out in the open, like away from like, or I mean, clearly on like the other side of the box, completely no way of shooting me, no way of wrapping around within like 2 to 3 seconds, like, let alone like 5 seconds in order for them to even get close to me, and I still ended up dying. It was just outrageous. I'm just getting tired of this. This U.S. segregation is just getting on my nerves now. They're like segregating all my connections, all my stuff, like just completely violating me of my rights. I think they think it's a joke to even do it while I'm playing a simple video game. I guess that's kind of how they get into everything. So the current task at Pochinki is get kills with either Scar L or an M416. Welcome back to the show. Sorry about that last crash. I guess the pedophile in the area that's running the local AT&T servers or local AT&T connections just cut out my connection in order to try to dictate something over me. I mean, they could try to claim other, but they basically just keep rerouting me through their shithole pedophile networks. So I don't want any of their shit connections, let alone any of the crap that they're trying to push through me. The other guy just made it out alive. See, just like junk like that, I light the guy up, 3 to 4 shots, should have been dead, but I know he's not wearing a level 3 helmet either, so it's just like outrageous. Total face mask, as you can tell. I don't even know where this guy's at. Like having a gun or a firefight near me, opposed to like. Oh, that's where they were. That's funny. I don't even have a vest. It's kind of hilarious. I haven't really been touched much though, so it's kind of not bad. Oh my goodness, that scared the daylights out of me. I thought that was like directly at me. so annoying. No. I wonder if this guy kept running. Whoops. Auto run didn't stop. So the guy I was chasing was actually just hiding around a corner. That's so funny. It's outrageous. No way. There we go. It's only 4 kills with the M416, regardless of how it's said. Sorry, I kind of have to use the bathroom, so I'll be right back in like 5 minutes. Just gonna mute my mic. Gonna keep the stream running though. Alright, sorry about that wait.
Welcome to PUBG Mobile.
Oh, no way. That's funny. I finally made it up there, or made it up another.
We will be taking off soon.
Made it up to another spot. Probably could have made it up this time again. It's kind of a challenge to make it in there. I have to almost practically glitch through. I'll lay you. Oh man. It's only a bot. It's so annoying. away. Oh. Jump shot didn't work. I didn't figure it would, but figure it would have been fun to try.
Welcome to PUBG Mobile. We will be taking off soon. Be prepared.
Oh. Why is this so So annoying. Why do they keep doing this to me? Sorry, I only picked that up for the extra 7 bullets. Well, that's cool. It's either the Scar L or the M416. Sorry. Regardless of how it's said. Even though it's probably something different. But the M4 variant might even work. Yet again, that was only for the bullets. Not gonna lie, I'm kind of hoping to find an M762. Really? There's no way I lagged out that bad that this person got an extra like 50 shots on me. And again, the person just got hit. Who knows how many times and avoided dying. This is outrageous, man. Maybe I should turn on my VPN or change the region. Seems to stabilize the connection with the people that I'm like linked with. Or usually makes my connection faster, which is quite shocking.
Welcome to PUBG Mobile.
I should make it more interesting. If I survive to the point where it turns into the night, into nighttime. But it doesn't stay night for the whole
We will be
match. It's
taking
only
off
like 2
soon.
minutes.
Be prepared.
Honestly, feels like 2 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. I don't think many people will drop in, to be quite honest. Since the distance is actually quite far. It's as if they nerfed the range also, which is kind of shocking. Now my parachute's not as maneuverable. It's just a bot. Oh, sorry. Could not breathe randomly. Or not, could not. Was trying to blow some air out while not trying to breathe out my nose. These allergies have me so congested, it's just like death itself. Whoops, that was like way delayed. Another bot. Unfortunately, it's not carrying anything I wanted. Other than the ammo, but weapon-wise. No way. Knew it. This is gonna irritate me so bad. Last two matches have just been horrendous. For me at least, but just kinda... But it doesn't seem to,
Welcome to PUBG Mobile.
Oh, but... I'm the only one doing bad, supposedly, so this is just outrageous and disgusting and heinous. Oh, no way. That's what I was expecting last time I got up here.
We will be taking off soon.
I figured the
Be
second I
prepared.
crouch, it's not gonna work. And crouch jumping doesn't seem to work. Like it's not possible in this game. Like the in-game mechanics aren't there. I hate when stupid people fucking force a follow. All these shit countries have since their countries have different laws, they force different installation copies. So what the fucking pieces of shit pedophiles will do is they'll force a follow, while if you have a North America rendition or American rendition, there's no way to constantly toggle the invite to follow and forcing the follow. While if you're in one of these shithole pedophile countries, they tend to use my network and everything else to avoid getting caught, so they're using like a bunch of software that's technically that they're getting illegally. I mean, it's not like Twitch isn't illegal, it's just it's like nigh near impossible with US laws for me to really sue. But they will in this situation they'll force a follow. I accidentally pressed like right now because I was yawning. Sorry, I was kind of way busy yawning. Or not, well, kind of yawning. I was busy trying to breathe, regardless of what these pedophiles are using as subliminals, because they'll cover up they'll cover up my identity with some pedophile piece of shit that was part of my family. So I mean, they do it on a regular basis. This is how they actually made it through like 90% of these networks, and they thought it was a joke. So I mean, it's kind of just what happens. Sorry, had a pedophile like subliminally try to get into my system, so it's kind of annoying when these pedophiles like show up and then they end up using my face in order to cover up for their sick-side pedophile crimes. That's how these companies got in the habit of sending out their subliminal messaging and whatnot. Since I'm operating through dream states and whatnot half the time, um, lucid dream states, astral projections, and things of that nature, but so they'll technically use this time in order to alter like when I play and whatnot, and they just try to use my time based off of like a bunch of pedophile science communities. Like best example I can use is best way to know if you're in a lucid dream state, astral projection, or anything of that nature is basically, actually this one's actually impossible because they kind of grouped them up, but I was gonna say I'm not too sure if that pedophile Kevin O'Leary is related with Harvey Weinstein or whatever, but that's one of the best ways to tell because they both basically look alike. Supposedly once before the other lost his hair or whatnot. And another example is Dana White and the guy that manages Rob Dyrdek, whatever the hell the guy's name is. Same thing. Dana White's after he lost his hair, and the guy that manages Rob Dyrdek is right before he lost his hair and whatnot. That's how you know they're operating in lucid dream states or astral projections or things of that nature. They're just using alternate identities and whatnot. That was a bot. So far, I haven't even been able to find a Scar L or an M416. This is gonna be a killer. Oh, another example of what the pedophiles are trying to do to avoid losing their hair is Joseph Gordon-Levitt, that pedophile case, or that pedophile Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and that pedophile Casey Neistat or whatever. It's like a body modification trick that they were using in order to avoid prosecution for breaking into client networks and whatnot. They started altering like data streams with like major companies in order to avoid getting prosecuted for it. But as a result, that's how you know it's a bot. You have almost no lag to your connection. Oh yeah, so they were using like a body modification trick. They weren't really modifying their bodies like in any way other than simplified means of trying to look like each other. But yeah, they were concealing records of who they were associated with, and things of that nature, and they were claiming to be others. And like lucid dream states and astral projections, it makes it quite easy. Because they would just take on similar like facial features of like the people that they were emulating. Like almost like here's one thing I remember. This is how I led towards it, because they used to try to claim to be like on my good side. And they tried these companies tried contacting me for a lot of my work, because I used to do a lot of astral projections and whatnot, and I used to have to offset these like realities with real technology and whatnot, how real technology works, how real frequencies, things of that nature work and whatnot. Let's see if I can hit this guy and shoot him down. Oh, no way. His teammate was right there the whole time. But so the body modification tricks that they would use is simplified means such as like changing how the appearance of a person's eyes look, not really the shape and size, but like the overall appearance. So they would almost like auras. They would do like a morphing trick that they use in Photoshop and whatnot. They make certain eyes look more appealing, not really more appealing, but they would make eyes look more towards the ethnicity that these people were trying to target. Same thing with jaws, chins, foreheads, brows, what are those? Cheekbones. So the pedophiles would go around raping people. They would use old Middle Eastern techniques of like I forget what it was, somewhere on the in the Bible. This is based off of like an old Middle Eastern setup, but somewhere in the Bible it says to like kiss your brothers and whatnot. But once you get into like heavy set groups that actually understand what it meant, it basically means if you're part of these pedophiles, you won't have a negative offset to kissing a person illegal, like forcing yourself onto a person, even though it's illegal. What it basically is they took it out of context And they even put it in the Bible the wrong way and out of context also. They just relayed the information. By this point, it was when they were being cast out of the light of God and whatnot, because God himself has no real, or I mean the God that you guys know doesn't have a real kingdom nor heaven nor anything of that nature. That's why you guys operate off of the lesser three glories, because there's no heaven without me is technically what it is, and I am heaven, or I am God slash heaven itself. So technically that's why it's like the celestial bodies, and that's why it's the cosmos and whatnot, and that's why my last name starts with a C. That's why it's almost impossible for me to prove my identity. But it goes case in point, hand in hand. It goes hand in hand with the whole case in point type scenario. Well, I mean, it's kind of like case in point, the point in the case. Sorry, but so with that being stated, so this is when his where your guys are supposed, the God that they speak of in the Bibles, or in that segment of the Bible, was being cast out of heaven, and there was no heaven without me, or not being cast out per se for his own crimes or whatnot, but it was due to the people that he associated with, the people that he considered prophets, and at that point those prophets were just completely garnering nothing but diminishing returns, so to speak. So at that point they were deterring from the actual task at hand that they were supposedly fulfilling. So what they would do is they would try to offset any assets that they would have gained illegally in the first place. They would completely try to offset it to gain more illegally, and they were just not, they just didn't care because they were already committing nothing but crimes. They were just hoping not to get caught by this point. They figure if I commit enough crimes and sway the people enough while I still have my voice and power, I can sway enough to not ever lose my power, so to speak. So they would keep going with that, and they relayed a message such as kiss your brothers or something, and the pedophiles that really cared less for any person and had the right offset, they would go around not just like in their mind consciously thinking it, but they would go around kissing people, like regardless if the people wanted it or not. And after a while it was seen completely as something negative, but also like, well, if you're not going to kill the person or be able to stop them, then there's really nothing you can do about it, because they'll keep committing the crime. And that's how technically how your local, or how your current law enforcement agencies operate, their current legal societies operate. I mean, you technically can't kill a person, but I mean, based off of the aristocrat society that you live in, some of these societies have different lucid dream states and astral projections to where they have you basically go around like Christian Bale did in American Psycho, where he went around killing any person that he basically wanted to kill, and he'd contact his lawyer, and his lawyer by the next day would cover up all the facts and every bit of detail. They would just either move him to a new building or just completely just not even really care. But I mean, that's technically how half these societies operate. I would say like 90% of them. So I mean, it's quite frustrating, but it's technically how it goes. It's technically how it's been going for centuries, so it's almost impossible to stop it. I was trying to think of what real techniques I used back in the day in order to offset these people from being able to claim to be another person, but it kind of got so heavy set out of control that they ended up reversing it on me. So I think that's why I kind of completely stopped and tried erasing it by completely erasing it as a whole, but it kind of worked against me because now I don't really remember most of these. I have one simplified trick, which is a resonator, Um, so I took gravitational lensing into consideration. The fact that everything that you see is basically derived of waves, and everything that your eyes, um, the signals that your eyes receive are nothing but waves sent by light. So at that point, your eyes digress those waves and turn it into the physical objects that you see before you and whatnot, and the colors and the hues and what the colors, the shades, the different tones. So everything has its own distinct resonation type frequency at that point, and I digress it to a point of it being frequencies. So um, technically every color has its own resonating type frequency, has its own heat, has its own unique identifiable waves, so to speak. There's really no way to simplify this like conundrum, I guess, or simplify this like method of explanation yet. I can't think of a good way yet, and it's not theories, these are all solidified proofs. At this point it's just me putting it into not really teachable but an explainable perspective, to where you're able to grasp exactly what I'm speaking of and eventually learn what I'm speaking of. Because I'm not really so much, it's not really something that should be taught. So the only reason I say it shouldn't be taught is because half these people that claim to be teaching this stuff are technically just a bunch of criminals that are trying to gain your sway. So in reality, I'm just making sure you understand and you're able to completely grasp the situation as to what I'm trying to speak of, that you're able to grasp and completely understand the knowledge that I'm trying to make readily available. I guess it really I really wouldn't say make readily available, make understandable, the knowledge that I'm trying to make understandable. So at that point, one of the ways that I figured this out is just due to the fact that you can see like multi layers, because I also used to do electromagnetic levitation, electromagnetic force fields, electromagnetics in general. All just due to the fact that I was trying to recreate, or not recreate, but one of the things that shocked me, almost like a circle is just a series of straight line segments. It was technically the polarities of a magnet. When you reverse them, they'll create like a frictionless force field at one point when you try to press two magnets to each other at opposite polarity, or the same polarities, I think, not opposite polarities, because opposite polarities attract. It's with the same polarities, they tend to push away from each other. So you could create an electromagnetic force field due to these similar, or not electromagnetic, sorry. You can do the same thing with electromagnetics. You basically create magnets through electricity and metal, I guess, and it just flows at an even steady rate to where it creates this to where the same example is basically created. So with electromagnetics, you can also create like a force field and whatnot. At that point, you're able to understand like force fields. You're able to understand like distinct separations in electrical frequencies and currents. And at that point, you're able to completely digress one frequency from another, and you're able to completely create basically a layer of its, in and of itself, of the smallest, simplest frequency that can be everlasting, like that can be infinity. That's technically how I also got, I guess, my supposed name, Infinity. My supposed name my supposed name Face I got due to the fact that they wouldn't ever remember my name, so I just made sure my face was known. So they technically knew me as Face. And also due to my VPN type work in order to protect people's identity, I was just protecting people as a whole, since I was a little too Christian at the time. Not really Christian, I was just too not really idealistic. I was trying to learn world religions. And at that point I ended up realizing what every single person that basically created a religion was. I was just basically a person that required some protection at one point or another. And at one point or another, was at least willing to protect others. And supposedly it wasn't just their own bloodlines, but as I see it nowadays, it's just their own bloodlines and their own lineages that they were basically protecting, and they were trying to bring their fold unto themselves in order to not lose whatever they had gained. But at that point, it wasn't always just like blood related. It was also just off of people that they had basically conversed with. So that's technically how it became like a world religion type. Or not world religion, but one of those things where you don't have to be of my fold, you don't have to be of this nature, or whatnot, but in reality, you don't get the same as like my own would. So, I mean, it's kind of like pointless for you to join like separate religions. So, I mean, it was just kind of knowledge that I was technically... Like, I technically don't even side with any people that are technically of my bloodline, because I just don't care for any of their disestablishments or the disestablishment of like bloodlines, or the disestablishment that bloodlines created, because at that point it's just basically one person taking someone else's knowledge and trying to use it for themselves, or using it for themselves in a different way that can't always be easily deciphered. So what might work for you might not work for another, but if you find a way to use the opposite aspect to work for you, at that point it's like having it work for you anyways. So basically, like, just because you can go up doesn't mean that at one point or another you can't reverse the fact that you were being forced down in order to go up. So it's like basically based off the same concept. Completely challenging to understand, but it's technically the stuff I get into. I technically get frustrated. It's been bogging me down these last couple of days while I've been trying to get some sleep. So it's kind of how I'm stuck. Currently stuck. Oh yeah, so as a whole, so the resonator, or the resonation type issue, I would use basically these simplified methods in order to realize if it was a real person or not. Aside from the fact that at the time I had gotten so frustrated with so many people that I was just knocking everyone out. If they would even get me frustrated, I would just chin check them, knock their asses out. Knock them out. And I really wouldn't care. It turned into eventually people trying to plagiarize me and whatnot, and then the One Punch anime being made. But it was just kind of what happens. Another good example of this stuff, just in case you don't believe it, when I was trying to get paid by secret societies or by certain societies, one of the tricks that they did to me to cause me to get even more mad was Vonage released the Better Business commercial. That's technically what they were like promising me, or trying to promise me, in order to get my like approval. And I was, at the time, I had completely been like against everything, and I was like, it's not gonna work for me. So I don't really think it's possible for me to ever give you guys my approval. You guys are only seeking my approval in order for you guys to get it yourselves. And they're like, so why should you care? Is like what they were saying. I'm like, well, I'm not getting anything out of it. What do you not understand? Like, at that point, I'm like losing my whole namesake, my whole reality. The fact that at one point, if you make one mistake at any given point, that mistake is repeatable, just as a recording is repeatable. So I mean, at that point, I have like no control over it. They're like, well, I mean, at least we're using it something good, is basically what they tried selling to me, and I just kind of got tired of it, and I said no. And at one point, one of the aspects seemed appealing to me. The whole fact of, what if you didn't even have to leave your couch? You just sit there and we'd start paying you and everything. I was like, I kind of wasn't paying attention, but I was already just tired, exhausted, drained, as they basically make sure to drain you before you actually ever say anything to anything. And I was like, one thing I said was that would be cool. Then bam, next thing you know, that bondage commercial showed up a few months later. I was just kind of beyond flabbergastingly annoyed, but I never got paid. That was my main reason for getting frustrated and annoyed. Kind of like this. It doesn't reward me for the daily activity after someone's hacked my device. And they're using my identity and my host software and everything else in order to claim to be me. And that's already, 4 to 5 matches already that have hit within the top 10. Oh yeah, four matches that have hit within the top 10 and one within the top 12. The one within the top 12 is the only one that, and I haven't gotten credit for any of the daily activity for it, so it's quite frustrating. I'm gonna restart the game. I'm not too sure if this is an iOS issue, but it does it all the time. So one thing I do is like 6 times. Welcome back to the show. Oh yeah, as I was saying before, I was rudely cut off by whatever company was tired of being caught for their pedophilia and thinking it was a joke to be using any of my stuff regardless to avoid getting caught. So so they cut out my stream once too much viable information is released. So I was saying one of the things that probably wouldn't have showed up is sometimes when you close your app a few times, you'll notice that the app is drawn from a different location. You'll notice that your app launches straight from your app, and then out of nowhere, your app will launch straight up out of like the side. It's like an old hacking trick where they just send you one rendition to another, and they just wait until you're like not conscious enough, and you just disregard it, and they send you one of the copies that they basically made. Another thing with this advertising right here, it's like the center object is supposed to be like the Santa Claus technique, because Santa Claus was supposedly just a guy that broke into another guy's house and slept with his wife. I seem to just stick with all the gossip. I really don't like listen to many other stuff, because the gossip is what basically was it's basically the truth. It's just kind of how shocking it becomes that people are like, no, that's not true, but it's true. You're just lying because you wanted to commit the same crimes, or you're a culprit in these crimes, or you're part of these crimes, or something of the nature. So one of the techniques, the center outfit is like the what's that movie? The Revenge of the Nerds / the Santa Claus technique, where they just dress themselves up looking like another person, and they try to emulate the person's voice enough, and then they rape the female, technically like Zeus used to do to any and every person within his fold, or not within his fold, but within whatever country he was in at the time. Technically why they got shut down and got only sentenced to live at like Mount Olympus and eventually killed off or severed from society as a whole. The way they tried getting back to me was these last couple of years I've been trying to play the stock market again, and I've been heavily into trying to join the stock market, just trying to find out exactly what to invest in, the simplest things to invest in, and how to exchange my knowledge, what knowledge I've gained so far. So one of the ways that I was exchanging my knowledge in order to avoid losing my worth, because I was getting plagiarized on a day-to-day basis, was through astral projection. I started exchanging through communities that were exchanging knowledge for knowledge. At that point, I became slightly smarter, so I was like, that's kind of cool. At the very least, I'm getting some worth for my worth. I'm able to exchange knowledge for knowledge. So I started exchanging with with companies that would know any stuff on like the stock market, and I hate to release this bit of information, but I might eventually. But they started telling me what to invest in, and they started giving me keywords as to what these objects and what these things are considered. One of the simplest ways that they like put it to me was actually, I'm not even too sure if I should release it, but I mean, there's certain keywords that they use for everything. One of them was commodities, just to avoid losing my namesake. But these recordings will probably become plagiarized, or you'll hear someone else try to completely use these recordings. So hopefully they edit it. I mean, hopefully they don't edit me out of this, and hopefully I get credit. Because I mean, as I stated, I'm hoping to get credit for everything, but one of the things was like what items are being exchanged on a regular basis, day-to-day basis. What you should look at, it's not just bulk trades or microtransaction type trades. It wasn't really microtransactions, sorry. They were using like microtransaction type currency systems that were able to exchange like 1 million shares of a certain object, and they were using it like a money laundering type scheme at one point or another. But but certain companies were able to exchange like oh man, hold up. I was hoping that would have reset that, but it didn't. Certain companies were exchanging like millions and millions and billions of shares of a certain commodity. For this example, this is stuff that you won't really be able to find on the internet like easily, or you won't be able to find as easy knowledge. So I mean, I should have set up the disclaimer as I had set up in the past. I'm not too sure if my disclaimer's out, but because it's a different website, different streaming platform. But I hope to eventually gain money off of all your investments. Say you become a millionaire off of my information, I hope to eventually get a share of that money. But that doesn't always happen because most of these people are greedy people, or a bunch of pedophile offsets that are just like, well, I mean, he released it out on the World Wide Web. It's like free and public knowledge, but it's not. Maybe that's technically what it is. It's technically like abiding by my disclaimer and things of that nature, but I completely forgot to set that up since this is through like a private or public website opposed to like private means that I was hoping to release it through. So I mean, maybe I could download it. Oh, whoa. And they just altered the YouTube. Whoops. That's crazy. As a result, they just altered the YouTube website, and it now shows or the YouTube app. So now I don't have my downloads section. So as I stated, they're bouncing me around from network to network. So now I don't have my downloads section. So let's see if I can do it myself. Sorry, that's so annoying to me, but it's technically what happens. But I mean, I'm hoping to make money off of this because it basically becomes what it becomes. But one of the things that they were using was commodities. They're at least like the word commodities. They're basing everything off of how commodities are exchanged. It's almost as simple as forex. Forex goes around currency. Currency not really being a commodity, but being a medium that they use in order to exchange commodities, and in order to exchange worth, and in order to exchange just basically anything and everything. So I mean, females exchange themselves for money on a regular basis. So I mean, at that point, it's just money's the commodity, not the female, because the female can be easily garnered through anything. So I mean, it's just what it is. While money really can't. So back to the point. Dang it, this is gonna frustrate me so bad. But one of the ways that I was getting my knowledge is like what commodities are gonna boom, or one of the ways I was trying to get to this is which commodities were about to boom, which commodities weren't. But it's all basically based off of your lucid dream state / astral projection. What you require more, what's more easily exchanged, what companies are booming, but it was usually toilet paper and things of that nature within the commodity aspect. I would say toilet paper, and then perishable goods such as like oranges or like fruits and whatnot. The reason I use the keyword oranges is because of vitamin C and everything else you that you can get off of oranges: vitamin D, vitamin C, uh, derivatives and offsets, vitamin B and vitamin A, vitamin E. Vitamin E would lead towards if the world is in like a health crisis, or if there's certain regions that are about to get hit with like the flu, or like about to get hit with anything that requires any healing, there you'd automatically go through like vitamin E type offsets, or anything that's like that would relate to medication. So medication industries that would be using heavily type. So I mean, each vitamin would just basically be like your main bullet point, and then everything else that revolves around it. So at that point, just to be able to go off of one point to another to find out what company's medications being used as like a healing type offset, almost like vitamin D is not self-produced, but produced by the sun. So at that point, what solar power energy companies, what construction companies, what companies are actually pumping out viable goods within these industries. Vitamin B being a mental / health offset also. So I mean, it's a neurostem type vitamin, so it's basically heavily derived around your brain. At that point, it would just be like, if vitamin B, or not if vitamin B is being shot, but I mean like what within that industry is booming, what's gonna boom, what's not gonna boom, what's about to be shut down, what's about to gain, what's about to be sold at such a low price that you could eventually see the stock eventually booming and making you money, or what can you advise someone at right now and be like, for at least like $5,000, I can advise you to sell the rest of your stock within these companies. Because I can tell that these companies are going to go under because they're not producing enough within this industry, or this company's about to skyrocket within that industry or that specific set of industries in neurostem type technology. And at that point, if you see like a company about to collapse that was going to collapse, and you can advise their people that it's about to collapse, like be like the forefront, sometimes you get paid off of it. It's like being a basic stockbroker or whatnot, but it's very not. So, I mean, it's more insider information. I've been plagiarized for a lot of my insider trade secrets. A lot of the technology that I've been able to reverse engineer or been imparted with. I had a highball glass at one point, and they're considered highball glasses, but a glass, like a cup, basically a cup that was made out of glass, highball, because it has like an inch segment at the bottom of the cup. That's nothing but glass. That's kind of like for a design aspect, but the reason that it hit is because they use it within a lot of mixed drinks, lawyer specific mixed drinks. One of the reasons I say this is because like they say, if you break into if you get into someone's liquor cabinet, you'd be able to tell like basically everything about them. So one of the things that we had like some random alcohol lying around in my house, and one of the specified ingredients, because I mean I've never seen this on any bottle before, and I completely forgot to save the label of the bottle, or at least take a picture of it. But it was the most disgusting alcohol, but it was actually intended to be made into a mixed drink with like orange juice or pomegranates or something of that nature. But you're supposed to mix it in a highball glass, is what it states. And I didn't really realize why or how or for what reason, but I mean, I guess this is why. This is why it stated it, and this is why I didn't really care for it. But I mean, this is probably why we had a highball glass in my house at the time. Now it's just like completely missing. But it's just regardless. But oh yeah, and on the label of the of the bottle, it was like to some Danish high society. So it was just like shocking. Like I don't know if it was Danish, Dutch, Deutsch. Sorry, I don't know if it was Danish, Deutsch, or something of the nature, but I think it's Dutch, Deutsch, maybe Dutch. I mean Deutsch. I think Deutsch is like how it was pronounced, but I forgot. I don't know why. I like normally just say Deutsch in my head to not forget. But recently, if I don't pronounce it out loud when I'm thinking about it, by the next time I go to pronounce it, I don't pronounce it well or don't pronounce it well enough, so I forget like the exact pronunciation. So I tend to say it. So my apologies for that simple segment, but it's technically what happens. Um, this highball glass, basically, sorry, the mixed drink completely aside from the highball glass, I was using the highball glass for like a few months prior to that, and I had this disc out in front of her. Not disc. I was playing a video game by the name of Warframe, which was heavily derived about which was technically 90% of my work in kinetic energy suits and just electromagnetics as a whole. And just like my thesis for like, or my entrance exam, or not entrance exam, my what's that? I'm trying to think of what it's called when you send in your paperwork to get accepted. Oh yeah, my acceptance letter for university. I was gonna set it up as like my acceptance letter and my thesis for like trying to get accepted into like Harvard Law or like MIT or Yale even. I always loved blue, so I mean I always wanted to go with Yale, but I figured if I have to become a lawyer, but I figured if I have to become a lawyer to completely disestablish how much my sisters have violated me of my rights, then I would eventually have to become a lawyer. And the best lawyering communities were Harvard and Purdue. So I mean, I was even thinking of going to Purdue, but it's kind of just how it goes. I thought. So I mean, I considered the options and everything, and I mean, I could have probably easily gotten into MIT also off of this, but I mean, I'd have to have like a lot of solidified work, because I know my sisters have plagiarized me for a while, because they go around using the, oh well, I have kids set up, even though they went around just breeding because they knew that they were plagiarizing my work. So I mean, as a whole, they had my younger brothers lying for them as to who was doing what. So I mean, at that point, they were completely disestablishing who was what, because my younger brothers were basically already lying for their father, which is just a stepfather, and my younger brothers are technically half brothers. So my sisters saw this as an advantage, and they plagiarized all my work, like 90% of my work. They would basically morph my images to look like some of their kids, or they would try to do vice versa in order to try to claim other, and they would try to claim that I was the one doing it and things of this nature. They did a lot of disgusting stuff. I mean, none of this basically got out into the media. None of this got out to lawyers or anything of this nature. None of this ever got out to like most of these major societies. What it basically was, I was getting most of this information through like the dark web, or like private connections, or private like I'm trying to think of what those people are considered, but what are those considered? Almost like PIs, private investigators, but it was basically, I was just getting a lot of my information through like contractors. So I mean, it basically, I was getting it through more viable means than your pedophiles claiming to be private investigators, or claiming to be contractors, or whatnot, or the pedophiles trying to cover up my image with like a ghostly image of themselves, or like a transparent image of themselves, in order to try to claim everything. They would be like, they'd make it transparent for whenever I'm speaking towards the object, but whenever they bring it to light, they'd like be like, no, they were talking about this object, because it was like a layer on top of it was a transparent layer at that before, but by the time they would bring it to like evidence type information, they would just make sure that the object wasn't transparent or opaque in any way, shape, or form, but it was just a layer on top of the other layers. Almost like one page on top of the other page. But they used this technique on me on a regular basis. So, I mean, I was never really able to make it out of the US's grasp. So, I mean, it was quite frustrating to say the least. But I mean, I've been dealing with this for a while. My whole structure for creating or while I was busy trying to get my contractor's license, which younger pedophile brother, like the second one down or whatever, tried pedophilia raping other people for, was he would technically claim to be me, or was using the same techniques that my pedophile sister was using. I consider them pedophiles because they're aiding and abetting in nothing but pedophile activity, and they're committing nothing but like a bunch of sick, sad, heinous crimes. Underage sex trafficking is just like one of their major networks and loopholes that most of these local law enforcement agents think that they won't get in trouble for, but it's just technically what it is. It's just a whole fraternity of criminals. Yeah. But I mean, it basically got to the point. Can you do me a favor? I'm trying to get more followers on Twitch. If you can, subscribe or follow. Thank you. But so one of the things that was happening was me dealing with them like on a regular and consistent basis, and they were plagiarizing my work on a regular basis. So they were using a lot of these underhanded techniques in order to get through like most of the people, because I didn't have any viable means of paying any of these people until after the court case, or until after I was able to sue these private all these concealed bank accounts and banks and whatnot. So I mean, it kind of got pretty disgusting. It got devastating, but back to the point, they were basically violating me of a lot of my rights. But it kind of got, it didn't just become devastating. It became underhanded, and it became just kind of devastating. So I was trying to use a lot of this work for my acceptance letters and my thesis and whatnot. But pelted? Or do you mean on Twitch? Faces Place? But I mean, I hope like my overall work within gravitational lensing, astral projections, quantum computing, virtual computing, virtual processing, plug and play systems, you name it, I've basically done it within the computer industry. I've dealt with everything. I've dealt with the lowest of the lows to the highest of the highs. I haven't really learned coding as a whole, since coding as a whole is just basically a reverse engineered language and digressed into a different language, or just a language digressed into a different language. So I mean, I haven't really gotten into like, but I mean, I've understood or gotten into everything, so to speak, is what I was trying to explain. Sorry, but I mean, I don't know coding as a whole myself. I just know simplified coding such as clickable objects and hyperlinks. GUIs with clickable objects and hyperlinks. So I mean, I basically create this whole object as like a GUI, a graphic user interface in a 3D engine, and then I make everything a clickable object or a hyperlink. So moving arm left is basically a clickable object as like button A or button B, or a combination of button, or just not a combination, but just both left arm and right arm being button A in order to move either or. or whatever sequence, and then it becomes clickable, or I mean, it becomes a hyperlink as to what series of commands it sends it. Oh, stream. Sorry. Alright, that's cool. Hey, do you mind adding me on Twitch? A follow. I don't mind if you don't, but I'm just saying, if you have the chance or if you enjoy, please add. Trying to get... I'll try. I don't follow. That's the only reason. Like, I would so do it. Alright, that's cool. Yeah, I added you back. You don't even have to follow me if you feel bad that I won't follow you in return until I get like 10,000 plus followers, because I'm really trying to get known or well known. I mean, actually, you know, the only way I would follow, if you get me notorious, I would actually pay you regardless. I mean, even if you get me like 10 to 15 people for your one follow, I would definitely make you my first person that I'd follow. But that's just to show that it's cool. But yeah, so as I was saying, I kind of got... Oh yeah, so I don't really know much coding. It's just GUIs, hyperlinks, and clickable objects. Or GUIs, clickable objects, and hyperlinks. Or GUIs, hyperlinks, and clickable objects. But I know my way around a computer, around like basically any bit of software, how to use decompilers and compilers. Decompilers in order to assess what the situation at hand is like, or what like the hacks are. Hi. That's a dope name.
What's that?
That's a cool clan name.
Can you make it duos?
Yeah. So
Server do you play on?
what was that?
What server?
Usually North America. What about yourself?
Mind. I play on Europe.
Do you want me to switch it?
Your choice.
Alright.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So I mean, like, I'm hoping to eventually get paid off of this, but I mean, I highly doubt it's gonna happen. I just know what the odds are stacked against me and how everything's stacked against me and what the realities are. What the
Welcome to
possibilities
PUBG
are.
Mobile.
Be right back in like a second.
Are you playing on the PC?
No, I'm on my tablet.
Yeah.
No, I'm on my tablet. Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah.
First drop.
What was that?
First drop.
Hold up.
We will be taking off soon. Be prepared. Let's go!
I don't care what we drop.
Alright, that's cool. I'll
Hello.
probably wait till the last segment. Or I'll follow you, actually. Since I have to clean my screen real quick, sorry about that.
So I was, you know, You have to run.
Hi, no worries.
Moment. Where are you?
What was that?
Come, let's go. Come on.
Sorry. Sorry for anyone watching the stream. I found these like new little wipes that are they kill like germs and whatnot. Kind of a germaphobe. Whoops. Really inexpensive. In comparison to how much money I spend on like or how much it would be for like a towel. And like soap and water, I guess, over time. Having to clean this. I guess my game crashed too, so sorry about that. Sorry, my game. Oh, he dropped out also. I heard his little sister, and then all of a sudden it just like crashed for him too, I guess. Landed quite a ways away from me. Seems like he's either being shot by a person or a bot, so hopefully I can make it to him before he dies. Can't even really message him in the game. Oh, whoops. Oh, no way. Just noticed. There's the bot that was shooting him. Unfortunately, he might not return. This happens every time I do something like this. I was in the process of cleaning my screen like right before he joined. I just kind of zoned out into that whole like hefty 10-minute conversation, so I felt bad. Kind of felt bad. me see if I can message him on Twitch real quick. Almost impossible. I hate Twitch. Or not. Welcome back to the show. Sorry about that. Stream crashed right as I was trying to make it back to this. I honestly dislike this app. It's like almost impossible for me to contact any person. Oh wait, I don't know why I went to Discover. Which at least since I'm on my tablet, I can at least check it. A lot easier. Oh, no way. It opens the app.